Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the choir, it is I, Josh. Hello. Thank you so much for watching. If you were here today, I'm doing a little solo video and I want to talk about focus. Now, I'm sure a lot of you, including myself, sometimes terrible at focus, absolutely atrocious at focusing. Especially in high school, I was like, I don't care about any of this, so I'm not going to focus on it. But today, I want to talk more about habitual focusing. What I mean by habitual focus is how you train and condition yourself to focus on that is more empowering to you, that gives you strength, that gives you self worth, that makes you feel better about yourself. Uh, a big struggle that I have had, I'll give you a little past lesson of Josh, is I would go from cloud nine to bottoming out zero. That I'm just riding high, I'm loving life, loving it, and all of a sudden I just boom, and then I just go right back up and go through these rifts and troughs, crests and troughs rather, of waves. And I've talked about those in my previous videos, but it would be so extreme, and I'd always ask myself, why would I go through such extremes? Being on cloud nine to just bottoming out, and there's no circumstance that changes that. And I've been listening a lot to a great motivational speaker and influencer, Tony Robbins. If you've never heard of him, absolutely check him out. I'll put a link to one of his videos, actually, probably even about focus. I'll probably do that on my description. But he talks a lot about focus, and it made me think that there's no circumstance that changed why I would bottom out and then be on cloud nine and bottom out. Nothing circumstantially changed. But I think my focus changed. How I focused on myself and how I focused on my day to day changed. And then it changed everything. It changed the way that I viewed about myself. It changed the way that I viewed everything else. And I've said so many times, self perception is really the bottom line. It kind of dictates everything. And focus has a big part in it as well. If you want to look at the quality of life and know what it is the quality of the state you live in day to day. If you think about it, how you feel on a day to day basis is the state in which your focus is ultimately determines. How you treat yourself and how you treat others. Your focus on self, the focus on what you have on a day to day basis, is going to ultimately determine how you feel and how you treat yourself and how you treat others, which is all a domino effect. How you feel is going to dictate how you behave. How you behave is going to dictate how people view you and how you view yourself. And it's all based off of what you're focused on. So if you spend your day, and I've done this, don't get me wrong. If you spend your day focused on the negatives, like, it's cloudy, it's rainy, it's cold, I don't want to work. You focused on that, then you're going to dictate that day is a cruddy day, yeah? If you stop and smell the roses, per se, and you focus on the positives, you know, it's cloudy, but it's nice out. My sweater is soft. This food is good. I haven't smelled this smell in a while. The little things, even. And you focus on them, you're going to feel better. And I talked about habitual focus a little bit ago. Tony Robbins talked about that because I want to give him a lot of credit for the information that I pulled up today. Habitual focus is focus in which you are striving to do on a day-to-day basis, constantly. Because my argument is, if you're feeling a way that you don't necessarily like, and you don't like the way that you feel this way, you don't understand why you feel that way, it's what you're focusing on a day-to-day basis. It's the questions that you ask yourself on a day-to-day basis. And I'll go back to that, but so I want to dive into questions. And Tony Robbins talked about how questions really have a big part of changing your focus and keeping your focus and having that habitual focus. The questions you ask yourself, either consciously or subconsciously. I mean, it could go anywhere from, am I hungry? Should I shower? Do I need to get new socks? Always yes. Always get new socks. Or the deep questions. Do I have what it takes to get this job? Am I worthy of that girl that I like? but they're all questions, and all those questions kind of dictate that focus, yeah? So, why questions though? So, questions change what you are focusing on and then change the way you feel. Instead of thinking, did this happen to me? Ask, what can I do to learn from this? I know it's a little cliche, but there's so many times I've gone through things where just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And instead of thinking, wow, why? Obviously, there's some reason for it, sure, because it happened. And so instead of focusing on the negatives of that situation, I think, well, what can I learn from this? And you shift that focus, you shift that perspective. Everything shifts then. And it's the way for your day to day life. So if you go about your day with the thought that your focus, what you focus on, is going to dictate how you feel, maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the little nitpick that you need to have in the back of your head going about each day. I know I do, and I know I'm going to. But what you focus on is going to determine how you feel. Wow. What else needs to be said? What you focus on is going to determine how you feel. How you feel is going to determine about your behavior. We've talked about how you always have control of your behavior. We've argued back and forth. Can you control your feelings? I think if you have the ability to shift your focus, then you can have quite a bit of a determination on your feelings, because what you focus on is going to be based off of what you feel. Questions also change what you are saving or deleting in the archives of your brain. Archives. So, for instance, I'm going to say, can you feel your own heartbeat or your own blood flowing? And you're not going to really think about it until you focus on it. Opening and closing your hand. You kind of do that anyway, but you're not going to think about it until you focus on it. Walking. That's something that's interesting to me, is sometimes I will focus on walking while I'm walking. I'm like, how am I doing that? How am I walking? But you're not going to think about it until you focus on it. So questions kind of change that when you think about it. So you're like, how am I walking? Then you're going to be focusing on walking. And it's going to shift the focus. And so you put that into life in itself. You shift your focus based off of the questions that you ask. When you ask the questions of, can I really do this? I talked about that, like job, crush, whatever. Can I drive? Can I really get my driver's license? It can go into anything. Only you have that answer. If you ask that question with a sense of doubt, which I have been, I will not lie to you folks. Lately, I've had that question. I know everyone has that question, but I've asked that question. Do I have what it takes? Not only to like be an influencer, be a coach, be a motivational speaker, whatever I end up doing. It's like, do I have what it takes just to go on about this day? If you ask that question with a sense of doubt, your brain is going to give you a sense of doubt. And that's the interesting thing is, we've said this when we talked about inner peace, is when you ask these questions, your body, I mean, your mind and your body, it has the answers. It's there. That's why you ask these questions, and that's why those questions kind of dictate how you feel. And it's kind of beautiful if you think about it. If you focus on the beauty, it's beautiful if you think about it, because it's all there. The questions in which you ask, you have the answers to. So ask the right questions. I can't speak. Ask the right questions. There's no point in focusing on the negatives, because then you're just going to feel negative. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but the more you have it in your brain, the more you have it in the back of your mind, and know that your emotions are going to be dictated on what you're focused on. If you focus on your failures in life, you're going to be more apt to fail. If you focus on your successes in life, you're going to be more apt to succeed. It's what you focus on. It's what you decide to do. It's what you decide to think about. It's what you decide to feel. It's all a domino effect. The biggest question that I think about anything when it comes to asking yourself and focusing on is, what is most important to you? What is most important to you? And some people might not know that answer. But the more you ask it, the more your brain's going to search for that answer, and it's going to give you an answer eventually. But there are always questions that you can ask yourself to put you in a better mood, to put you in a better thought process and put you in a better focus. I talked about focusing on failures instead of success. So instead of focusing on my own failures, I'm going to focus on my own successes. Ask the questions like, what in this world do you love? Ask yourself things like, what are you proud of? Ask yourself things like, what are you grateful for? What are your strengths? And it's going to allow you to feel better about yourself because you shift that focus. The way you focus, I don't know how many times I've said it in this video, but I'll say it again. The way you focus is going to dictate how you feel, and how you feel is going to dictate how you behave. It's a domino effect. But the more you focus on the positives, the more you focus on what makes you uniquely you, what makes you the best version of you, you're going to pull out those versions of you that make you best. If you sit there and focus on the versions of you that don't make you best, those versions are going to come out. And I am guilty of this. I mean, when I talked about that high of highs and lows of lows, right at the beginning of the new year, it just dropped to a low. Nothing happened except my focus. I started doubting. I started asking the wrong questions, so I got the wrong answers, and it started making me feel not the way that I want to. And the more I've had an idea about these kind of questions and the sequence of focus, it's shifted because I'm starting to ask myself the right questions. And so what are the right questions for you? And that's something only really you can decide. And so I challenge you to think of questions that not only challenge you, but make you feel better about yourself. What are your strengths? What makes you feel happy? What makes you excited about a day? What can you do when you wake up in the morning? What questions can you ask yourself to make you excited about that day? And lastly, which all brings it together, is habit and routine. I talked about habitual focusing. Now, creating a routine is going to really help with that, because that, first of all, you're going to be focused on making that routine in the first place. For me, I know in the mornings, I get up in the morning and I start reading a book. And it helps me get out of bed, first of all, but it allows me to focus on that book. And then I can put forth what I'm going to do for the rest of that day. Because a lot of what makes us overwhelmed is that we're trying to focus on all of these things all at once. And you just can't do that. It's impossible, first of all, but second of all, the more we try, the more you get overwhelmed. So create a routine. Put something, so that you can focus on one thing after another, and in its own sequence, and it's more controlled. So I don't want to make a long video. That's what I'll leave you with today. Take away from this whole video, shift your focus. And you can do so by asking the right questions. And the more you ask the right questions, the more you're going to feel better about yourself. And the more you focus on the good qualities of you, the more you're going to feel the good qualities of you. Shift that focus. Make that routine. And feel good. I mean, that's what we're here for. It's what we're in this whole entire life for, is to feel good. So feel it. Focus on feeling good. Focus on the goods. I mean, anybody can make themselves down if they think about the things that make them down. So on the other side, anybody can make themselves feel good if they think about the good things in life. I mean, I can sit here and think about all of the bad things that's in this world, and I'll feel sad, and I'll feel down. But then I can sit here and think about all of the good things in this world, and the complete opposite will happen. And the same thought, I can sit there and think about all of the bad qualities about myself, or in my past, or things that I'm not proud of. But what does that do? What benefit do I gain out of that? None. And same for you. So focus on the good qualities of you, and the more you focus on those good qualities, the more it's just gonna flow. You're gonna become it, and you have that power. You have the ability to make that change. You have the ability to make that habitual focus, and make that focus a habit. Make that positive flow a habit, and everything else is gonna come together, and you're gonna feel more of that alignment. in your body and in your mind. And I promise, man, I promise you, folks, you are not alone in this because, like I said, I'm struggling with the same thing even right now. And, I'm not afraid to tell anybody that. But that's how progress comes. That's how growth comes. Growth comes, growing in general comes because you're at one level and you're going to the next. So how are you going to grow unless you know that there is growth that is needed? So focusing on that growth, focusing on those abilities that you have to obtain is going to get you to where you need to be and where you want to be. It's all focus. It's all self-perception. And it's up to you. And you have the power to make that change, just like I do. And we'll get through it together, you and me. All right, you sat through almost 16 minutes of me babbling on about focus. Thank you. If you like this video, like it. If you want to share it, share it. Subscribe if you want to listen to more. If you have anything that you want me to talk about, shoot a comment below. I'll have in the description Instagram that we have, Facebook that we have. Feel free to dive on in and see everything that we have to throw out there. Folks, thank you again very much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day.